Okay. Hey, everybody, and welcome to this very special episode of A Dearybury today. I say that almost every time that I start a show, but this one is very extra special. You see, I'm in a brand new place that I haven't recorded a show from. I'm in a nice little cozy chair that's in the corner of my office. Normally, I am about 3 or 4 feet that way with my fantastic wall behind me that you are used to seeing. But normally I say welcome and let's start our day with a moment of play. Well, I will be honest with you, right here where I'm sitting, it is 10:59 p.m. My day is it's well past over. Normally I'm in the bed by 8:30, but I have a fabulous guest with us today who has been a friend of mine for a year. I would say maybe a decade, maybe longer. If I really think about the date. This is my friend Daniel, and Daniel is a teacher. I'm not going to spoil his thunder, take his thunder. He's a teacher and on the other side of the planet from me, and it is actually 6 a.m. right now where he is. So he is starting his day. Look at that, 5:59. Excuse me, 5:59, and he is starting his day with a moment of play. Daniel, tell us who you are, where you're from, what you're doing, where are you in the world? Tell us all the things.
So many things. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon. That's how I usually start things because I don't know where people are. As Jed said, at 6 a.m. for me. I'm currently in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. So I'm in the Horn of Africa right now. And I work at an international school here as a elementary counselor.
How did you end up there, Daniel?
Short story, long story.
It's really like you're like a ping pong ball.
Oh yeah, I'm all over the place. So Africa is my fourth continent. Hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, fourth continent I've worked on as an educator. And in the process of working internationally, kind of like the running community I think we met through, I have made contacts around the world and the position came open here. A friend of mine is the middle school deputy principal here. And we reconnected, I should say. And then I talked to him and he put me in contact with the elementary principal at the time. And anyway,
here you
A
are.
led to Z and here I am.
This is what I love about our friendship is like, we've only met in person one time, y'all. Yep. I've only met Daniel in person one time. And that was just this past summer. But it's interesting that you remembered that about us meeting through the running community. Because you're right. Now that we met, there's so many reasons that you and I are supposed to be friends. The universe wants us to be friends because we met through the running community, but then we worked with Donors Choose together.
Maybe that's how we met.
Well, no, you're right though. But I think it was the running community on Twitter because that was where I started. Twitter was runners.
Yeah.
And then we turned up in the Donors Choose. But you're originally from North Carolina, which is just right next to South Carolina, and you went to college where I wanted to go to college, and I changed my mind at the last minute. And I had gone there, we'd have been there at the same time because you were friends with my friend Darcy. And there's just so many, like the universe has made sure that we are friends, and I love that, because when I look back, there were so many different areas of life where our paths would have or should have crossed, and they kept doing it, and I love that. So I'm excited for people in the world to get to know you from the show here. Some of the places you were in China, I believe.
Not quite. I was in Taiwan.
Taiwan. Oh yes. Thank you for correcting me. You were in Taiwan. And then I think you went to Germany, weren't you?
I did Singapore first, then Germany.
I know people. I don't know anything about this man. He's a stranger. Where have you been? I can't tell the story.
So education wise, I taught in Greensboro, High Point, North Carolina for 9 years at two different schools, elementary public schools. I went international and went to Taiwan. So I taught in Kaohsiung, Taiwan. It's the southern tip of Taiwan. And then I moved to Singapore, taught there for a little while. And then I moved to Weimar, Germany, taught for a little while. And then from Weimar, Germany to Addis Ababa via North Carolina, Myrtle Beach, and hanging out with Jed last summer.
So I skipped over Singapore. I knew
it's okay.
I knew Germany was in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I just remember, I remember when you were in Germany, us Southern boys, how we are drawn to snow. I remember you posting pictures on social media of some snow in Germany there.
Yeah, we had snow for over a month
Yeah,
the
I
second
remember that.
second year I was there.
So here's the thing. What I do with the shows is sometimes, Daniel, we really like, we're moving and doing, because there's different types of play. As you know, you've got a copy of the book, and there's different types of play, and there's different play personalities. Sometimes the experience that I've crafted for people, we spin a wheel or I draw something out of a hat, let that decide. But today, when I think about you and all that you've done, I think about the play personality of a storyteller. Your life is such an amazing story. And I know that living in all those places, you probably have some stories, but I wanted to play just a little, play a little game that helps you develop a good story. And it's using the first initial of your first name. So your first initial is a D, mine first initial is a J, and there are 5 categories of topics that I want you to write an answer for using the first letter of your first name. And the categories, you might want to write these down, are food, travel, entertainment, which could be a book, a show, a song, a movie, a verb, and then an item in your house. Okay. So I want you to quickly write down a word that goes under each category that starts with the first letter of your name. Make sense? You got it? Okay, while you're doing that, I'm going to do that with me. And it's better if you just write down the first thing you think of, or it could be your favorite if you know it, but the odds of your favorite being something that it starts with. I'm writing mine down too. Oh gosh, a show or a book. Oh, yeah. You got yours already, or are you still thinking?
Done.
Okay, you're done. Okay. So what we just did there is a little experience that I have used in trainings and even with students, just to get the foundation of a story together. Because what you've got there is you've got a setting, you've got an activity, you've got a plot twist, you've got a main idea. All those things could become part of your story, right? So tell us what your food is, that starts with your name, and then we're just going to hear the categories, and then together we'll try to see if we can come up with a funny story. Also, another play personality that we're doing here is we're also exploring. Sometimes people think explorers is visiting new places and travel, but it also can be exploring new ideas or new ways of thinking. We're exploring words, and specifically words that start with our first initial. So tell us, what's your food?
Domas.
What is it?
Domas.
What's a domus?
It's a like Middle Eastern Lebanese.
Okay.
How to describe it? It's you basically have cooked rice and a few other ingredients, vegetarian or vegan,
Okay.
wrapped up in a cabbage leaf, like
Okay.
folded and wrapped up and steamed.
I'm gonna write this stuff down that you say, because this is exactly why I picked to do this with you, because I was like, he's got this perspective of the world that I don't have, and he's gonna say some things that I don't know about. You know what I said for mine? Jello.
Jello. I
Spell
don't
it.
even know if I'd have to make Jello from scratch here.
You can't go and buy it at the store, can you?
No, unless I can get it at the U.S. commissary.
Oh yeah. How do you spell domus? Is it D-O-M-A-S?
I'm not actually sure.
No?
I spelled it. I know I spelled it slightly wrong. It's DOLMONDES. But I'm pretty sure that's wrong.
DOLMONDES.
DOLMONDES. And like I said, I'm pretty sure that's wrong.
Okay. Hillman's. Okay. All
So
right. Well,
if you're a vinegar fan and you like cabbage or
yeah,
Swiss chard or anything like that,
yeah.
then it's a really good like side dish.
I love that. I love that you taught me something new here. I've never heard of that. Let's see what you came up with for travel.
I put destination.
Oh, look at, you know what I love about, see, this is why I love this game. This is why I love this, because you gave it a whole new twist. I was thinking like a city or a country, and you just put destination.
Yeah.
Love that. I put Jakarta, I think, because that's on my mind lately. That I recently had a call with a school in Jakarta, and maybe about a possible partnership with working at a school there. And it's been on my mind a little bit this week.
Yeah.
So I've never envisioned myself going to Indonesia, but who knows? Maybe one day I'll end up down there.
Jakarta is an interesting city.
You've been to
So
Jakarta?
it is. Yeah.
I'm
I've done
not-
a couple of workshops there.
I'm not
It's-
surprised.
Well, because it's a 2-hour flight from Singapore.
Oh,
so,
okay. Yeah. So it's just a little hop, skip, and a jump over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a crazy city. So it is like
What about
chaotic.
what about your entertainment?
Dune,
Dune. Oh, have you seen the movie yet?
the newer one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's always been one of my favorite books too. I reread it probably every other year.
I need to check that out. Originally, like, I would see the book and it looked so long and it was intimidating, but now I feel a little more confident as a reader that I could pick it up. And
Yeah.
I even just 2 years ago, I would be very intimidated by
It's
a thick book.
not given I've read it so many times, I could
Yeah.
probably skim read it and count it.
I love
But
that.
I could sit down now and probably read it through the day and finish it.
In one day.
Yeah.
Daniel,
So,
you're a genius.
but that's also I do that really well with certain books, and other
Yeah.
books, it depends on the style of the book.
Well,
I
yeah,
read a couple of different ways.
there's this. Do you know the author Frederick Backman?
Yeah.
A Man Called Ove was one of his first books, I think. I love his stuff. I've read all of his books, and the last book from him I read was Anxious People, and I read that in a day. And it's not super thick, but it's definitely, for most people would say, oh, that's not a one-day book, but I couldn't put it down. I just couldn't put it down. I just zipped right through it. My show that I picked was Jeopardy. And I picked that because Jeopardy will forever remind me of my great grandma Maudie, who I stayed with when I was little. I'm sure you've heard of her on my social media. I talk about her a lot, but she made me love the game Jeopardy, because every night that I stayed with her, we watched Wheel of Fortune at 7:00 and Jeopardy at 7:30. I mean, it's just what you did, right?
Yeah.
And so that was the first show that came to my mind. What's your
I
verdict?
remember
Oh,
I
go
remember
ahead.
mom watching Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, growing up.
Yeah.
And like she'd be cooking in the kitchen or cleaning somewhere, and
And it would just be
she would
on.
hear something or walk through the living room, look at the TV on Wheel of Fortune,
Yeah.
and just yell out the answer.
Solve the puzzle.
What?
You know what's funny is that both of those shows still come on in our area at the same
Mhm.
exact time. 7
Mom
and
still watches
7:30.
both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's been eons now.
Still the same channel, even. That's what's crazy. They're still the same channel at the same time that when I was 5 years old. They're still coming on. What was your verb?
I look at it now and I don't think I wrote a verb down.
It's early in the morning. I'm asking you to write a verb. What's wrong with me? There's nothing
I
playing.
put daunting. I had
What?
daunting.
Daunting.
Yeah.
That's not a verb. That's an adjective.
No, I recognize that now. It's more of an adverb.
All right. Well, think of a new one while I'm telling you my verb. My verb is juggle. This is something I don't think anybody knows about me, but I have always wanted to learn how to be like a really good juggler. When I was in marching band, we used to have when you were learning where your spot is on the field, you use little markers to mark your spot, and then you would mark your next spot, and you would do it over and over until you learn how to go from point A to point B, and then you'd pick up another marker and go to point C and D, and then you would lay these markers down. And most people use like little bean bags. And so when you were waiting on everybody to learn their next spot, you would just stand there for sometimes 10, 15 minutes, waiting on everybody on the field to get their next spot. So you had all those beanbags, you would practice juggling. And for a little while, I got pretty good at it. I could juggle like it was a skill, that I had. But if you don't practice it, man, you have to practice juggling. But I want to be good. Like I want to juggle like bowling pins and knives and stuff. Is that
I
surprising?
can do 3 tennis balls pretty well, but that's about it.
Oh, is that the sun coming up behind you right now? Is the sun coming up in that window?
Yes. Yeah.
That's magical. I love it. I love it. It's on the way. It's on the way over here, y'all. Get ready.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. What's the item in your home?
Okay, let me go back to verb because I
Oh,
didn't
you
have a
got a
verb.
verb. You got a verb. Okay.
I put dash.
What was it?
Dash.
Dash.
Like I dash places.
Oh, yes. I like that verb. Okay. Very good. Very good. All right. What's the item in your house?
I put diary.
Ooh.
I don't really use it. I use a journal, but it's the same thing as a diary pretty much. And it's something that follows me around everywhere.
Okay. Well, because you're a teacher, this is also something you could use with you teach PE, don't you?
No, I'm a counselor now.
Wait. You did teach PE.
Yeah, I taught PE for 15 years.
And now you're a counselor. I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew that. I just had a brain.
No,
fog.
it's okay. It's a lot to remember.
This is absolutely something. You know what? I love it how when I do these shows, I've done, I don't know how many I've done now, over 20, maybe 30. They all haven't been released yet, but I've recorded them. And sometimes during the show, I go, that is a good idea. For you as a counselor, trying to get some student to open up to talk to you, this would be a great playful way, non-evasive way to get to start building connections with them.
I use a lot of play-based therapy. So,
well, I'm just thinking of this because now I'm looking at what I was doing. I was writing down yours and mine. You could talk about likes and differences. You could talk about similarities for this list. There's all kind of connections you could build. And everybody's answers. I mean, even as random as we think they are, there's a reason we thought of the things that we did. Like what I said that with Jeopardy. There, I could have said Jungle Book. I could have said a Beetlejuice or something. I could have come up with something. I don't know. But Jeopardy was the first thing that popped in my mind. Juggle was a story. Jakarta was a story. Jello. I didn't really mention that anything about Jello. Why I said Jello, but even Jello was a story for me. I went through you remember when I lost all my weight when I was first starting running and whatnot. Jello was like a staple in my house, and I couldn't decide if I was going to put Jello at food or item in my home. There's Jello in my fridge right now. There's we've lived in this house for 15 years, and there's probably been Jello in the fridge for 10 years. Not the same Jello, but
thank you for the clarification.
Not the same Jello. No, there is like the little Jello cups. It's been a staple of our house. I just love it. It's a great little snack. So, and you said your item in your house was diary, not dairy. And the item in my house is juice. And there's a reason there, is because every morning there for a while, through COVID, the worst of COVID, Matt would bring me a little glass of orange juice every morning so I'd stay healthy, have some vitamin C. So see that I'm thinking about the connection to the work that you do. Storytelling opens up just playfulness. And because there's funny stories connected to the words that we think of. I wanted to ask you go back to your travel, since you travel a lot, your destination. Tell us, Daniel, a story about somewhere you've been that is something funny that you remember, because I know you travel a lot. Just because you live in all these cool places, you have access to other cool places. Tell us something about a destination that makes you chuckle every time you think about it.
I would say not most recent, but one of the more recent ones is while I was living in Germany, I did a tour up into Estonia, into Vilnius, and then into Riga and Latvia.
Okay.
And in Riga, I actually ended up meeting with some old friends from Taiwan who were doing a Scandinavian tour and finishing in Riga. So it was just a nice, we had planned it. We had planned the meeting. But I remember I was in Riga probably 3 days before they got there, just hanging out. Did New Year's a couple of years ago there. So, but I think the funny thing was just, it's you travel, and I was in Riga by myself for a few days, and I ran into someone I had worked with like 5 years prior randomly, and that they were working in Riga then.
Oh,
So it's just
wow.
it's not so much funny as just like really amusing that, the connections you make, even in small towns back home, comes to life here.
It's just that is funny. I mean, you're sitting in this country that you've never been to, and randomly see somebody that you know. I mean,
I've got a better version of that. I've
okay.
just remembered that.
I love that story. That's great.
So similar thing. So in November, we had to evacuate Ethiopia because of the civil conflict that's happening in the north had come close. It's still happening, but it's way far north again. I had went to Kenya for a break. We had a week off, so I was in Kenya, in Mombasa, and then the school gave us the option of flying home or flying anywhere we wanted to work virtually. So I was flying to Bogota, Colombia, to stay with a old running friend who lives there now. But I was going through Paris, and I had a 14-hour layover in Paris.
Wow.
So one of my best friends lives in Paris.
Okay.
So I called her up and said, hey, do you have the day off? Can we meet up, grab a coffee, grab something to eat? To get from the airport in Paris to like downtown Paris is an hour and a half drive.
Oh, wow.
At that time of day, because I hit rush hour.
Yeah.
So if you hit it during good times, it's 25 minutes, maybe by bus or car. Anyway, so I met my friend Heather and down like the opera section of Paris. So we have coffee, and then we wander around talking, and then we stop and get crepes. Because what do you do in Paris? You get crepes.
You get a
so anyway, so we're eating crepes, having a good time, and then we're about to leave. And I look over to the left, and I see two couples. I see Aaron and Callie, Jack and Liz, who I work with in Addis.
Insane.
Random.
Insane.
And just I bust out laughing.
That's you're like the mayor of the world out there, Daniel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what really cracks me up about those stories is because I always post about this on my social media. I mean, little pictures or something, nothing major. But I have a how to put this politely. Let's see, my brother's ex-wife.
Yeah.
Because my nephews one's graduating NC State this week, and another's graduating high school, I think, this week or in the next month. Anyway, she's like, Daniel doesn't teach. He's like a CIA agent because he knows way too many people.
Oh my gosh. Now I'm going to think that every time I talk to you, you're really a CIA agent. And what kind of information are you trying to get from me, Daniel? What do you need to know? What do I know?
And just so everybody knows, I'm not.
But how cool would it be if you really are? I think, you know what? Look, I'm so glad that you wanted to come on this show, because you are just a fascinating person to talk to. And it just because of, again, the whole play personality of a storyteller, you embody that, whether you mean to or not, because of your lived experience. You are definitely an explorer by nature. But that explorer personality just gives you so many stories to tell and share with the world. And I thank you. I'm so glad I know you, and can be a part of your journey.
I will say the explorer personality is something that's come up in other things. Mm-hmm. And it's something I think I've had to work at, though.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't remember being this way in like high school.
Well, as we we humans, we're just like wine. As we age, we do get better. When I look back on my high school days, high school Jed would not even know the person that is sitting here today, because I've just grown so much from that. There's still some hints of him there, but and maybe he was always there. He just like the caterpillar morphing into the butterfly. There's still parts of them there. It's just different parts have emerged to make it even better. So, but anyway, thank you for being on the show. I see the sun coming up so bright over there. You are the first international guest of A Dearybury Bidet.
Oh, nice.
And it's been like, even though I tell everybody, hey, start your day with a moment of play, my day's wrapping up, but your day is just beginning there. And I'm going to remember this even tomorrow morning. And what's happening through this connection and through this playful moment that we've shared, all the feel good chemicals that in your brain are releasing. And it's just starting you out on a great day. And thanks again for joining me.
Thanks, Chad.
And I'm going to tell you, like I tell everybody at the end of every show, don't ever forget that you matter. And wherever you are in the world today, I hope that you play pretty. We'll see you on the next episode of A Dearybury Every Day. Bye, everybody.